Steering and suspension parts are not only responsible for a vehicle's handling and driving feel, but they're also critical to the safety of the entire vehicle. While a customer can tell you something is wrong with the steering and suspension based on their driving experience, they probably can't tell you what parts are giving them issues. Hi, I'm Connor for Delphi, and today we will go over the different symptoms caused by driving with damaged steering or suspension parts, as well as some diagnostic tips and practices to make sure you can identify which part is causing those symptoms. When a customer tells you that something feels wrong with their steering or suspension, they will usually tell you what specifically they are experiencing. If they don't, ask them to describe the issue, because their symptoms can give you an idea of which parts might be causing the problems. Let's look at the different driving symptoms the customer may have and what those symptoms could mean. First, let's cover steering issues caused by problems with the ball joints, bushings, tie rod ends, or steering rack. Problems with these components can cause the vehicle to pull to one side continually or to pull to one side after making a turn. The customer may report that the vehicle veers to one side during hard acceleration or when going over a bump, wanders from side to side, or exhibits excessive steering play. They may even report that the steering slips outright. They turn the wheel, but the car doesn't turn as much as it should from their input. All these issues can be caused by problems with the tie rod ends, ball joints, bushings, or the steering rack, as well as issues with the strut mounts bearings or the wheel bearings. In addition, any of these problems can be caused by uneven tire wear, improper inflation, or the need for vehicle alignment. A customer may not only experience difficulties with the vehicle's handling, but with the steering wheel itself. For example, excessive steering wheel vibration could mean there's an issue with the ball joints or the rack mount, or that a wheel is out of balance, or a shock or strut is worn out or damaged. If the driver is having difficulty turning the steering wheel, that could mean something is wrong with the power steering belt, the steering rack, the power steering pump, or that the power steering fluid level is low, possibly due to a leak. If a customer experiences continued bouncing after hitting a bump or pothole in the road, they could have an issue with worn shocks or struts, or with the leaf springs. Next, let's discuss noise symptoms around steering and suspension issues. The noises the customer hears can tell you a lot. If the customer reports knocking or clunking sounds, inspect the control arm, bushings, ball joints, and tie rod ends for potential issues. You should also check the shocks, struts, and strut mounts. If the customer states that the noises happen specifically when turning, then you should check the ball joints, tie rod ends, the steering pump, and the steering pump belt. You should also look at the brakes and the wheel bearings. The symptoms a customer reports can paint a clear picture of what might be going on with the steering or suspension parts. However, knowing the symptoms alone is not enough to make a diagnosis. So, let's go over some of the best practices for diagnostic tests and some tips to help you along the way. The first thing you should do is test the vehicle on the ground. Check whether the power steering fluid reservoir is full. If not, fill it to the manufacturer's specification, and you'll want to recheck it towards the end of the diagnosis to see if the fluid level has remained the same. After filling the reservoir, turn on the engine and quickly turn the steering wheel to the left and right 3 times. This will help get air out of the system. As you turn the wheel, feel for excessive play and listen for knocking noises. Next, place the vehicle on the lift so that the suspension hangs freely. With the weight off the suspension, check each part for loose connections, excessive play, cracks, damage, broken boots, or any other signs of issues. If you suspect a steering system issue, but there are no obvious mechanical issues, you can test the system using a scan tool and an oscilloscope if you have one. Check the steering angle sensor using the following steps. First, use your scan tool to check chassis-related PIDs. Next, use the oscilloscope to monitor high-speed bus activity when the steering wheel is turned. You should see an increase in bus traffic as the steering wheel turns. You can also use the scan tool to reset the steering angle sensor after the replacement of a steering column or other steering components, including the sensor itself. Be aware that in some vehicles, this step is required anytime the system loses battery power. And there you have it. You now know the most common steering and suspension symptoms to look for, as well as the effective ways to diagnose their source. Subscribe to our channel below so you can refer to this video in the future and have access to other service videos from Delphi. and check out DelphiAutoparts.com for other great resources. I'm Connor with Delphi. Thanks for watching.